Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're opening a case file that, on the surface, feels incredibly cozy.
Oh, absolutely. You think of teacups, village green.
Gossip over the garden fence, that kind of thing.
Right. But if you scratch that surface even a little bit,
It is just teeming with venom. Absolutely teeming.
it's a fascinating study in contrast, really. Because we often think of these settings as cozy. But if you look at the sociology of a place like King's Abbot, especially in the timeline we're examining.
We're talking September, post-war.
Exactly. It's actually a pressure cooker. You have this idyllic English countryside on one hand, and then on the other, you've got suicide, blackmail, drug dependency.
A web of secrets that just seems to tighten around every single resident.
Every single one.
Exactly. And our mission today is to really unpack the first phase of this narrative. We're not skipping to the end.
No, that would ruin it.
We have a stack of reports, specifically the accounts of a Dr. James Shepherd, and they detail the events of a very specific Thursday and Friday in September. And honestly, the tension it's almost unbearable.
It is. We are essentially freezing time right before the dam breaks.
That's the perfect way to put it.
And it's the only way to approach it. We had to look at the setup, the intricate relationships, and, the inciting incidents that lead up to the tragedy at Fernly Park.
Because it doesn't just happen in a vacuum.
Not at all. It happens because the village is basically designed to create it.
So let's start with that, the setting itself. King's Abbot. If you were just driving through, you'd probably miss it, right? It sounds so unremarkable.
You might. It's described as being very much like any other village. It's about 9 miles from the big town of Cranchester. It has a large railway station, a small post office, and 2 rival general stores.
So pretty standard stuff.
Very standard.
Yeah.
But Dr. Shepherd makes this demographic observation in Chapter 1 that I think is the key.
The key to the whole mystery.
I think so. He's talking about the population makeup.
Right. He notes that the able-bodied men, they tend to leave the place early in life.
They do. They go to the cities, or they went to the war and didn't come back. So the population is, and this is a quote, rich in unmarried ladies and retired military officers.
Which is a very specific social cocktail, isn't it? You have a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands.
And maybe a bit of a void in their lives.
Really a big void.
Precisely. And in a vacuum like that, what fills the space? Boredom. And where there is boredom, there is the village's primary industry.
Gossip.
Gossip. But it's not just a hobby in King's Abbot. It's the currency.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's how social standing is measured. It's how information flows. And you could argue it's how social control is maintained. Everyone is watching everyone all the time.
Dr. Shepherd actually says their hobbies and recreations can be summed up in that one word.
Gossip.
But it's not just idle chatter, is it? The way he describes it, it feels more like a surveillance state.
It's a localized intelligence network. Privacy is a completely theoretical concept here.
Right.
If you buy a new hat, the village knows. If you buy a bottle of poison.
The village definitely knows.
This is the environment we're dropping into. And into this environment, you have a very distinct social hierarchy. There are 2 houses that really matter.
At the top of the pyramid, you've got King's Paddock, which was left to Mrs. Ferrars by her late husband.
Right.
And then you have Fernly Park, which is owned by Roger Ackroyd. These are the power centers.
They're the feudal lords of the 1920s, essentially.
And it's at King's Paddock where our story really kicks off, or I guess where it ends for one person.
That's the inciting incident right there. We're looking at the night of Thursday, September 16th, into the morning of Friday the 17th.
Dr. Shepherd gets a call. It's 8:00 a.m. on Friday. And as a doctor, an 8:00 a.m. call.
It's rarely good news. It usually means something happened in the night that couldn't wait.
No, he's summoned to King's Paddock. Mrs. Ferrars has died during the night.
And the cause?
An overdose of veronal.
Which is a sleeping draft, a barbiturate. Very common in that era for people with, nerves.
So immediately, the village and Dr. Shepherd are faced with the big question. Was it an accident? Did she just take too much to sleep?
Or was it suicide?
And this is where we get our first real look inside Dr. Shepherd's head. He comes home at 9 a.m. He hangs up his hat. He kind of delays going into breakfast. He admits he's considerably upset and worried.
That phrase stood out to me, too. He says, I am not going to pretend that at that moment I foresaw the events of the next few weeks.
But my instinct told me that there were stirring times ahead.
That is a heavy, heavy feeling for a country doctor to have just because a patient died of an overdose. Doctors deal with death all the time.
All the time. It suggests he knows more. More about the context than he's letting on, anyway.
He senses the fragile equilibrium of the village is about to just shatter. He knows the history, he knows the rumors, and he knows that Mrs. Ferrars' death isn't just a tragedy.
It's a catalyst. And he's absolutely right to be worried, because waiting for him in the dining room is the personification of that village intelligence network we just talked about.
His sister, Caroline Shepard.
Caroline.
Caroline is a force of nature. If James Shepard is our narrator, our sort of Watson figure,
Then Caroline is almost the director of the play. She is the one who sets the tone for how information moves in this village.
I love Shepard's description of her. He says that if she ever had a coat of arms, the crest should be a mongoose.
A mongoose rampant.
Yes, because of the Kipling quote from Rikki Tikki Tavi, "Go and find out."
Go and find out. That is the motto of the mongoose family.
But Shepard makes this brilliant distinction. He says you can omit the go part for Caroline.
She doesn't have to go anywhere.
No, that's the fascinating part about her methodology. She sits at home. She's an information magnet. It creates this image of a spider in a web.
But like a benevolent, inquisitive
A
spider.
very inquisitive spider.
But how does she do it? Is she psychic?
Well, Shepard jokes about that. But then he breaks down the mechanics. It's what he calls her intelligence core.
Right. It's the servants, the tradesmen, the milkman, Annie, the parlor maid.
These people move through the village, they hear things in the kitchens and the sculleries, and they bring it all back to Caroline.
It's the human algorithm. Before we had social media feeds, we had Caroline Shepard sitting at the breakfast table aggregating data points from the milkman.
That's exactly what it is. She processes data. She cross-references the milkman's story with the parlor maid's observation. And Shepard knows this. He enters the breakfast room trying to decide whether to even tell her about Mrs. Ferrars' death.
He wants to be discreet. He's the doctor. He has professional ethics. He's thinking, I'll just eat my bacon and say nothing. It's a noble effort.
But he also knows it's futile. He thinks, whatever I told Caroline now would be common knowledge all over the village within the space of an hour and a half.
So he tries to play it cool, sits down to his bacon and eggs, and Caroline just looks at him.
And she already knows.
Of course she does. The milkman told her.
Who heard it from the Ferrars cook. The speed of information transfer here is faster than a fiber optic cable. It's incredible.
It is, but what's so interesting is the debate that follows. This isn't just about the fact of death, it's about the interpretation of death. This is the breakfast table debate.
Right. Shepard says, must have taken too much. Accident. He's sticking to the medical safety net.
And Caroline immediately just shouts, nonsense, she took it on purpose.
Caroline is firmly in the suicide camp, but her reasoning, that's what's startling. She claims it's remorse.
Remorse for what?
For poisoning her husband, Ashley Ferrars, a year ago.
Whoa. Okay, let's unpack this because this is a massive accusation.
Just huge.
Ashley Ferrars died a year ago. Dr. Shepard attended him. What was the official cause of death on the certificate?
Acute gastritis, exacerbated by habitual alcohol abuse.
So basically, he drank himself to death and his stomach gave out. That's the medical fact, according to Dr. Shepard.
That's the official story, but Caroline doesn't buy it.
Not for a second.
Not for a second. She argues that the symptoms of arsenic poisoning and acute gastritis are very, very similar.
Are they actually?
They really are. Gastric distress, vomiting, pain. In a chronic drinker, it would be incredibly easy to mask arsenic poisoning as a natural, albeit unpleasant, decline.
So Caroline is basically performing a forensic diagnosis from her breakfast table.
She is. She's saying Mrs. Ferrars poisoned her husband, got away with it, and has been eaten alive by guilt ever since.
Yes. She points out that Mrs. Ferrars has looked hag-ridden for the last 6 months. She's been unable to sleep, which explains the veronal.
So Caroline's logic is, guilt leads to insomnia, insomnia leads to drugs, drugs lead to suicide.
It's a complete psychological profile constructed from gossip and just pure observation.
Mm-hmm. And Shepard is sitting there with his medical degree just getting more and more annoyed.
He is. He calls it inspired guesswork. He hates that she might be right without having any scientific data. He says, it is all wrong that Caroline should arrive at the truth simply by a kind of inspired guesswork. It offends his scientific mind.
It does. But he also secretly agrees with her, doesn't he? At least a little.
He admits to himself that he agrees with some part of it. He knows Mrs. Ferrars has been acting strangely, but he refuses to validate Caroline.
Of course not, because if he does, she'll run all over town saying, the doctor confirmed my theory.
He's trying to contain the wildfire. But Caroline throws out one more prediction. She says, 10 to 1, she's left a letter confessing everything.
And Shepherd snaps back, she didn't leave a letter.
Which is a very, very specific denial.
It is. And Caroline, of course, catches it immediately. She says, "So you did inquire about that."
Got him.
It reveals that Shepherd was looking for a note. He's worried about what Mrs. Ferrars might have written down.
Okay, so the stage is set. We have a suspicious death, a rumor of past murder, and a village that sees absolutely everything. Let's move to the other major player in town, the man himself.
Roger Ackroyd.
Roger Ackroyd, the life and soul of King's Abbot.
I love Shepherd's description of him. He says Ackroyd looks more like a country squire than any real country squire could ever be.
Like he's an actor in a musical comedy playing the part.
Exactly. It's a great image. Red-faced, genial, rubicund. He's nearly 50. A successful manufacturer of wagon wheels.
Wagon wheels. That feels so specific to the era, doesn't it? It's like industry meeting tradition.
It is. He's new money, acting like old money. He's rich. He's influential. He subscribes to all the parish funds, the lads' clubs. He's the benevolent patriarch of the village.
But there's a but. There's a contradiction in his character.
There always is. Shepherd notes that while Ackroyd is generous with public subscriptions, where people can see his name on the list,
Right, where it's visible.
rumor has it he is extremely mean with personal expenditure.
He's tight-fisted at home.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And that is a very dangerous trait when you have a house full of people who are financially dependent on you.
It breeds resentment.
A lot of it.
So let's talk about that household. Who is living at Fernly Park under the reign of this tight-fisted Roger Ackroyd? It's a full house.
It's quite a collection of dependents. First, you have the housekeeper, Miss Russell. She's been there 5 years.
Which is a long time for Ackroyd, apparently. The turnover is usually pretty high.
It is. The village assumed Ackroyd would eventually marry one of his housekeepers, and Miss Russell certainly seems to have had that ambition. She's described as a redoubtable lady.
But she's recently been displaced in the hierarchy, hasn't she?
She has, by the family moving in.
Mrs. Cecil Ackroyd. This is Roger's widowed sister-in-law from Canada.
The widow of his ne'er-do-well brother. She's come to Fernley with her daughter, Flora.
So Mrs. Cecil is the poor relation.
The poor relation who likes to act rich. She's gushing, she's charming on the surface, but Shepherd just detests her. He calls her all chains and teeth and bones.
Wow.
She's financially dependent on Roger, and she absolutely hates it. She calls it eating the bitter bread of charity.
That is such a harsh phrase. It just shows the humiliation she must feel. She wants the lifestyle, but she hates the man providing it.
And then there's Flora Ackroyd, the niece.
Beautiful. Scandinavian, pale gold hair, blue eyes. Shepherd seems to have a real soft spot for her.
He calls her a simple, straightforward English girl. But I think we need to question if she's actually that simple.
I think so, too.
She's also dependent. She needs money. She likes nice things. And living with a miserly uncle puts her in a very difficult spot.
And finally, the stepson, Ralph Peyton.
Ralph is a key figure here. He's the son of Ackroyd's first wife, who, by the way, drank herself to death.
Right.
So Ackroyd raised Ralph as his own.
But Ralph is, well, he's trouble.
He's a wild lad.
Yeah.
Charming, handsome, completely self-indulgent. He's always in debt, always in some kind of scrape. And he is completely dependent on his stepfather's goodwill for his future inheritance. He has no money of his own.
None. And the relationship between Ackroyd and Mrs. Ferrars, the woman who just died, how does that fit into this whole family dynamic?
Well, the village expected them to marry. It just made sense. Both had spouses who died of drink. They were seen together constantly.
It was the logical next step.
Exactly. The expectation was that when her mourning period ended, she would become the new mistress of Fernly Park.
Which would have been a complete disaster for everyone else living there.
Potentially, yes. A new wife means a new will.
Mm-hmm.
It means Mrs. Cecil and Flora might get pushed out. It means Ralph's inheritance might be diluted or cut off entirely. Mrs. Ferrars represented a massive threat to the status quo of Fernley.
And now she's dead.
Now she's dead. So the kaleidoscope, as Shepherd puts it, has shifted. The threat is gone, but all the secrets, they're still there.
And into this mix, we have a wild card. Mysterious new neighbor.
Ah, yes, the occupant of the larches.
Dr. Shepherd is in his garden. He's digging up dandelion roots when suddenly, squelch.
A vegetable marrow lands at his feet.
A giant squash rolled over the wall. It almost takes his head off.
And then a head pops up, an egg-shaped head, suspiciously black hair, immense mustaches.
This is our introduction to Mr. Poirot.
Or so the village calls him. Caroline has been going absolutely crazy trying to figure him out. She thinks he's a retired hairdresser because of the mustache.
I love that. She's so convinced. Look at that mustache. Only a hairdresser would have that. It just shows how provincial their worldview is. They can't imagine who he really is.
But the man himself sets the record straight with Shepard. He apologizes for the marrow. He says he threw it in a fit of rage because he's frustrated with gardening.
Which is such a relatable mood. You retire to the country to grow vegetables, and then you realize you hate vegetables.
Well, it's deeper than that. He talks about the chains of habit. He says he worked so hard to attain leisure, but now that he has it, he misses the daily toil. He misses his old work.
And what was his old work?
He tells Shepard it was the study of human nature.
The most interesting work in the world.
He admits he's living incognito. He knows Ackroyd from London, but he wants to remain anonymous. He even mentions a friend he misses.
Oh, yeah.
A friend who is occasionally of an imbecility to make one afraid.
That's a glowing recommendation. My friend was an idiot, and I miss him dearly.
It's affectionate in its own strange way. He misses the naivety of his old friend, Captain Hastings, and he sees a bit of that in Dr. Shepard.
Lucky Dr. Shepard. But this Mr. Poirot drops a bit of a bombshell during their chat over the wall. He mentions Ralph Peyton.
This is crucial. Poirot, and let's call him by his real name, even if the village doesn't know it yet.
Right.
Poirot has been watching. He's noticed Ralph Peyton walking around the village.
Which is news to Shepard, isn't it? Shepard thought Ralph was in London.
He did. Poirot describes Ralph as a Greek god, but then he says something quite chilling. He says, "There was something about that young man that I did not understand. He sensed a shadow over him."
He's judging him by inner knowledge. That's the expert eye. He sees trouble where everyone else just sees a handsome, charming boy.
And he also reveals that Ackroyd told him about an engagement.
Wait, what?
Poirot claims Ackroyd told him, this random new neighbor, that Ralph and Flora are engaged, and that Ackroyd is actually pleased about it.
But that completely conflicts with what Caroline says later, doesn't it?
It does. It adds to the confusion. Is the engagement a secret? Is it official? Why is Ackroyd telling his neighbor, but not his own sister-in-law?
It suggests Ackroyd is desperate for this marriage to happen. Maybe to settle Ralph down.
Maybe.
Okay, let's move to the secrets in the woods. Because Caroline, true to her mongoose nature, has been out for a walk.
A walk in the woods that just happened to adjoin Fernly Park.
And just happened to be the only place where you can have a private, hushed conversation.
Of course. And she hears voices. She recognizes Ralph Peyton immediately. And he's talking to a girl.
Caroline assumes it's Flora, though she doesn't actually see her. But she hears the dialogue clearly. And this is damning stuff.
It is the motive on a silver platter. Ralph is angry. He says, "The old man will cut me off with a shilling."
He's been pretty fed up with me. Little more would do it.
And then the kicker, "We need the dibs. I shall be a very rich man when the old fellow pops off."
When the old fellow pops off. He's literally counting the days until his stepfather dies so he can get the money. It's just brutal.
He calls Ackroyd mean as they make him, but also rolling in money. He's desperate. He says, "I don't want him altering his will."
That is the fear, isn't it? If Ackroyd gets angry enough, or if he had married Mrs. Ferrars, the fear of the will changing is front and center. Ralph is living on a precipice.
Caroline then steps on a twig, the voices stop, and she scurries off to tell James.
So Dr. Shepard, being the good family friend, decides he needs to intervene. He goes to the local inn, the Three Boars, where Caroline said Ralph was staying.
And sure enough, Ralph is there. He's not at Fernly Park. He's staying at the pub in his own village. That alone screams estrangement. Why would you pay for a room when there's a mansion down the road?
It makes no sense. So Shepard goes up to his room. Ralph is charming, of course, greets him with a smile, but he admits he's in trouble.
A lot of trouble. He says, "I'm in the devil of a mess."
Shepard asks if it's about his stepfather.
And Ralph says something very, very specific. He says, it isn't what he's done yet, but what he's likely to do.
Again, the threat of future action. The will. The disinheritance.
Ralph is clearly on the edge. Shepard offers to help, to mediate with Ackroyd, but Ralph just shuts him down. He says, "I've got to play a lone hand."
A lone hand. He's isolating himself. He feels completely cornered.
So now we have a desperate heir hiding in the village, waiting for an inheritance, terrified of his stepfather's next move. It's not looking good for Ralph.
Not at all. Which brings us to Friday night, the dinner at Fernly Park.
This is the night of the 17th. the night after Mrs. Ferrars died.
Shepard is invited to dinner. He arrives at 7:30, and the atmosphere is, well, it's not exactly a party.
No, it's incredibly tense. Ackroyd is described as wretched. He eats nothing. He's visibly preoccupied, distracted.
But before dinner, we get a really weird little scene. Shepard is alone in the drawing room for a moment.
The silver table moment. This is such a crucial detail for you to visualize because Christie loves these little mechanical clues. Shepard enters the room. As he turns the handle, he hears a sound from inside.
He thinks it's a window shutting.
But when he looks, the windows are French windows. They open like doors. They don't slide down. So a shutting down noise doesn't make any sense for them.
He's puzzled. He sees a display case, a silver table, with a heavy glass lid. He lifts the lid and lets it drop.
And it makes the exact same sound he heard.
So someone was in the room, opened that case, and shut it just as Shepard was walking in.
And who was coming out of the room as Shepard walked in?
Miss Russell.
The housekeeper. And she was breathless, like she'd been running.
So what was she doing in the drawing room? She's the housekeeper. She shouldn't be rummaging around in the silver table. She claims she was checking the flowers.
Which is the flimsiest excuse. But you have to remember her earlier behavior that day. She visited Dr. Shepard's surgery in the morning.
Oh, right, with the weird questions.
Very weird questions. She starts by asking about cures for drug habits, cocaine specifically. But then she pivots. She asks about poisons.
Undetectable poisons.
She asks if there's a poison so rare that Western science can't detect it. Something like a South American arrow poison.
Why is the housekeeper of a wagon wheel manufacturer asking about South American arrow poisons? That is a red flag the size of a billboard.
Shepard tells her about Curare, but says it's not really available. She seems disappointed.
So let's connect the dots. Miss Russell is asking about poisons. She's breathless in the drawing room. She's messing with the silver table. It's extremely suspicious behavior from the woman who thought she might be the next Mrs. Ackroyd.
It just adds another layer of threat to the house. It's not just Ralph who is desperate. The housekeeper is clearly up to something too.
Back to the dinner. We meet the other guests. Major Blunt.
The big game hunter.
The man who stares at things in Timbuktu.
He's taciturn, he's solid. He's Ackroyd's oldest friend. He's there for his annual visit. He seems to be the only stable person in the room, though he doesn't say much.
And Flora. She uses the dinner to announce her engagement to Ralph.
She shows off the ring. But listen to how she describes their future. She tells Shepard, "We're going to pretend to farm. Really, we shall hunt all the winter, town for the season, and then go yachting."
And then she says it. I am a simple, straightforward English girl who likes money.
That line gives me chills. It's so brutally honest. She's marrying Ralph to keep the money in the family. Ackroyd is pleased because it consolidates the fortune. Flora is pleased because she gets to go yachting. Ralph. Well, Ralph isn't even there.
But the engagement gives them all a motive to keep Ackroyd happy, or at least to ensure the money continues to flow. If that will changes, the yachting dream dies.
Exactly. It's a marriage of convenience and capital preservation.
Dinner ends. Ackroyd takes Shepard by the arm. He says, "Come to my study. We shan't be disturbed."
This is it, the confession.
Ackroyd is in a state. He's pacing. He tells Parker, the butler, very specifically not to disturb them.
He even makes Shepard check the window.
This is so important. The window detail. You have to picture this room.
It's a sash window. The heavy blue velvet curtains are drawn. The window is open, just a crack at the top for ventilation. Shepard locks the latch and draws the curtains shut.
So the room is sealed, door closed, window latched, just the two of them.
And Ackroyd just drops the facade. He tells Shepard, "I'm in hell."
He reveals the truth about Mrs. Ferrars. Caroline was right.
Caroline was right on the money. Mrs. Ferrars confessed to Ackroyd yesterday. She did poison her husband.
But that's not the only confession, is it?
No, that's just the start. She confessed because she was broken, and she was broken because she was being blackmailed.
For a year, someone knew what she did, and they have been bleeding her dry.
The drain drove her nearly mad, Ackroyd says. She paid huge sums of money. The suicide wasn't just guilt, it was an escape from the blackmailer.
And Ackroyd's reaction to this confession?
Horror. Absolute horror. And this is the key to his character. He's a law-abiding citizen. He's repulsed by the murder she committed. He actually turned away from her.
He practically rejected her in her moment of greatest need.
He did. He saw her as a criminal. But now that she's dead, his focus has shifted. He wants justice. Not for her crime, but against the blackmailer.
He wants to hunt the blackmailer down.
He calls the blackmailer a scoundrel, and an obscene vulture. He is absolutely determined to find out who it is.
But does he have any idea who it is?
No. Mrs. Ferrars wouldn't tell him the name yesterday.
Yeah,
She was protecting the person, or maybe she was protecting Ackroyd from the truth.
but she gave him a clue.
A huge clue. She said the person might be among Ackroyd's household.
Chills. Right there. The vulture's in the nest.
And a shepherd's mind immediately thinks of Ralph. He remembers seeing Ralph and Mrs. Ferrars walking with their heads together.
Ackroyd suspects someone too, but he won't say who. He's in total denial. He says, "It can't be. I won't even admit the suspicion."
Which implies he suspects someone very close to him, someone he cares about, or someone he relies on. It's someone he can't bear to accuse.
And then the mail arrives.
Right on cue. The blue envelope.
Parker enters with the Evening Post on a salver. Ackroyd spots a long blue envelope, and he recognizes the handwriting.
It's from Mrs. Ferrars.
She must have gone out and posted it last night, just before.
Before she took the veronal. This is her final message, her final act.
The stake here is incredibly high. This letter contains the name of the blackmailer. She wrote it to punish the person who drove her to her death.
Ackroyd rips it open. He starts to read aloud. My dear, my very dear Roger, a life calls for a life. I leave to you the punishment of the person.
And then he just stops.
He stops. He won't read the name aloud.
Shepard is urging him, read it now. He's practically gagging him. He senses the danger in the room. He says, read it, man.
But Ackroyd gets stubborn. He gets pig-headed. He says, no, I must read this alone. It was meant for my eyes only.
Why? Why does he refuse? This is the central psychological mystery of this scene.
Maybe he's afraid of what he'll see. Maybe he wants to spare Shepard the awkwardness if it's a family member. Maybe he's just being stubborn, as Shepard thinks.
Or maybe he already suspects it's his own stepson, and he can't bear to say that name out loud in front of a witness.
But during this reading, something happens. They hear a noise.
A door latch clicks.
Shepard checks. No one is there, but they both felt like they were being watched.
Nerves, Ackroyd says. But was it? If the blackmailer is in the household, they know that letter has arrived. They know their name is inside that blue envelope.
Shepard leaves at 8:50 p.m. The letter is sitting on the table, the name still unread.
As Shepard is leaving, he sees Parker, the butler, just outside the study door.
And Parker looks embarrassed and shifty.
Shepard is convinced he was listening at the keyhole. He tells Parker, Mr. Ackroyd particularly does not want to be disturbed.
He practically seals Ackroyd in his doom with that one instruction. Do not disturb him.
It's chilling.
Okay.
So Shepard leaves the house. He walks down the drive. It's 9:00 p.m. He gets to the lodge gates.
And he bumps into a stranger.
A figure in the dark, hat pulled down, collar pulled up.
The man asks the way to Fernly Park.
His voice is rough, uneducated. And Shepard thinks the voice sounds vaguely familiar, but he just can't place it.
Who is this guy? Is he the blackmailer? Is he a hitman? Is he just some lost traveler?
We don't know. All we know is he's heading toward the house where a man is sitting alone with a letter that reveals a very dangerous secret. It's an incredibly ominous arrival.
It really is.
Shepard goes home. He tells Caroline a sort of fake version of the evening to satisfy her curiosity. They go to bed at 10:00 p.m.
And then the final twist of the night.
10:05 p.m. The telephone rings.
Dr. Shepard answers.
The message is short. It's just a name. Mrs. Bates.
And Shepard makes this rueful comment that implies it's a late-night medical call. I'm afraid so.
And that is where our file pauses. It's a perfect cliffhanger.
Let's just look at the board. We have a dead woman who confessed to murder. We have a blackmailer who has been bleeding her dry for a whole year. And we have the name of that blackmailer sitting in a blue envelope on Roger Ackroyd's desk.
We have Ralph Payton, desperate for money, hiding out in the village, claiming he's playing a lone hand.
We have Miss Russell, the housekeeper, asking about undetectable poisons and sneaking around the silver table.
We have Flora and Mrs. Cecil, desperate to secure their financial future before Ackroyd changes his will.
We have Parker, the shifty butler, listening at keyholes.
And we have a rough-voiced stranger walking through the gates into the dark.
And in the center of it all, Roger Ackroyd, sitting in his study, door closed, window latched, reading the letter that will destroy someone's life.
It is the perfect storm.
It is. And the tragedy, just as Shepard predicted, is in motion.
There is one question, though, that really sticks with me.
What's that?
Why did Ackroyd refuse to read that name while Shepard was there?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was it just dignity? Was it privacy? Or did he, in that split second, realize who it must be? Did he realize that reading that name out loud in front of a witness would make it real?
Did he want one last moment of ignorance before his heart was completely broken?
Or perhaps he wanted to confront the person himself, alone.
A life calls for a life, Mrs. Ferrars wrote.
And tonight, in King's Abbot, that debt is about to be collected.
You now have all the pieces of the puzzle that Dr. Shepherd has. The board is set, the players are in position. Who is the blackmailer? And what happens when Roger Ackroyd finally turns that page?
That is for you to ponder.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.